Money is paper blood. Bob Hope. We understand some money characteristics, such as it's divisible, durable, and easily transported. But how is money made? How is it used? And how does it work? A few years ago, the Federal Reserve produced the publication Modern Money Mechanics, which sole purpose was to inform people of how money came to be, and how it's used, and so forth. So what if the U.S. government needs money? They simply go to the Federal Reserve and they ask. The Fed says we'll print off $10 billion worth of credit if you print off $10 billion worth of federal bonds. So the government prints off pretty squares with designs and watermarks, and they call them bonds. Where the Fed prints off green rectangles, and they call these credits, or dollars. Then they trade. Now at that moment, $10 billion is put into our economic system, making each dollar in already circulation worth less money. Though, to say that's actual paper is an exaggeration, because only 3% of the U.S. money supply is in physical credits. The 97% is all encoding on a computer or just data. Government bonds are complete credit. They are basically an IOU to the Federal Reserve. When the government asks the Fed to print off this pretty paper, they promise to pay it back with the money that has already been given to the government. Now what does this mean? Money is created out of debt. For in order for the U.S. to pay back the money, it must get the money that the Fed has already printed off to pay off its debt to the Fed. Now this paradox is crazy to even think about. Let's put it into perspective. According to modern money mechanics, the government doesn't use their own money to pay back the loan because if they did this, no additional money would be put into circulation. So essentially, the Fed creates this money out of nothing to satisfy the reserve requirements. Now, the average mathematical result of this additional money that is created to pay back the same $10 billion that has already been loaned is $90 billion on top of that. So for every bit of money deposited into any banking system, about 9 times that can be created out of nothing. So what gives this new money value? Well, besides the government and the Federal Reserve saying that it's worth that amount, it gets its value from the already existing money. Essentially, it's stealing the value from the already existing circulated money. This is what we call inflation. Now let's say you work at McDonald's. Well, you make about $7.25 an hour and you work a 20-hour week. And with that 20-hour week, you make $125. You have the $125 in hand. Then the Federal Reserve prints off $10 billion. Now with that they add another $9 billion because they multiply it times 9. Now every dollar that is printed off steals value from every single dollar that is already in circulation. So though you make $125, since the money was printed, the $100 billion, the money you have now is worth, let's say, $110. That $100 billion stole $15 worth of value from your income and every U.S. citizen. Now this is an exaggeration, because $100 billion being created wouldn't affect each individual income by $15, but this is a continuing and repetitive problem. Is it a coincidence that how much money is in circulation is completely adverse to how much money is worth? In 2007, it would take $21.60 to be that equivalent of $1 in 1913. That is a 96% devaluation since the Federal Reserve was created. Many people, especially in our modern day recession, scream about the U.S. debt. But with the money system that depends on one source that is completely devout to cause devaluation of its own credit, how are we supposed to get out of this debt? Andrew Jackson once said, "The bold efforts the present bank has made to control the government are but a premonition of the fate that awaits the American people should they be deluded into the perpetuation of this institute or the establishment of another like it." The only time that the U.S. debt has been completely paid off was in 1835 when Andrew Jackson shut down the central bank that was before the Federal Reserve. Then, sadly, the new central bank was created in 1913, and we now call it the Federal Reserve. As long as this institution is in existence, debt is guaranteed.